Hey, you guys, what's up? This is Kevin here. I'm so glad to be with you on this particular live stream. First of all, let me go ahead and just show myself really quickly because I got nothing to hide. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin here. I hope you all are doing well today. Happy Saturday to every single one of you. We are on the final Saturday of September. 2 more days, and we're going to be in October. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up for October. So definitely want to be keeping track of that, especially with the upcoming strikes that are going to be occurring on the ports and with the trucks. Uh, please make sure that you are doing what you can to be prepared. All right. But aside from that, I hope that you are enjoying your day. I hope you're taking the time to enjoy your weekend. And so we're going to be talking today about Trump's financial plans and Kamala Harris's financial plans, what to be expecting. I think particularly as the elections unfold, we definitely want to be aware of these financial plans because these things are going to effectively change the course of things, especially if we have Kamala Harris in there. It could even change when it comes to Trump too, because the tariffs, we'll get into that too. We'll get into the tariffs. We're also going to get into also economists that have discussed their plans, the pros and the cons of each of them. But before we get into that, we are going to, I don't know why my camera is glitching. I hope you guys can still hear me. I don't know what's up with my camera. I think it's probably with my phone, my computer, because it can be a little slow. But in any case, we're also going to be getting into, before we get into all of that, we're going to discuss the difference between political ideologies and economic ideologies, because oftentimes when we have the discussions about economy, especially when we talk about socialism, and people take the time to think that socialism and democracy are the same, or not the same, or that they are similar ideologies, and they're not. So we're going to take our time to go into that first before we start getting into these economic plans that Kamala and Trump have. Before we get into that, make sure that you hit the like button. If you are enjoying the content, if you've been enjoying the following content so far, and make sure also that you are, if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bells. The way you are alerted each and every single time there is a new video. I'm also doing a better job, want to do a better job, and aiming to do it every single day with posting when we're going to be talking about stuff, so that way that you are alerted when you can be at attending that particular video, and so all that type of stuff. All right, so we're going to do our best to keep things going as far as being prepared ahead of time for what's going on with this channel. All right, so let me go ahead and get some things set up so that way we can have our conversation for today. I'm going to switch over to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, so that way that I can be able to see the comments, because when I do my screen sharing, I cannot see any comments. And so if I do see any, I have to be able to look at my phone to give me an awareness of what's going on. So give me just one moment as I take the time to set things up here. Like I said before, I hope everybody is doing well with their day. Turn this down. Here we go. All right, so that should be going on. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this, shall we? So I'm going to turn my camera off and let's go ahead and get into this information. All right, so there is an article that I have looked up that is dealing specifically with capitalism, socialism, and communism, because these are the main economic systems and ideologies that are discussed. And they're interchanged sometimes with political ideologies such as democracy, autocracy, and other things. So we're going to dispel some of these things before we start talking about the specific financial plans and how either Trump or Kamala are going to affect is going to affect things once they become president of the United States. All right, so let's get into this, and let's share this screen. All right, so here we go. We have this particular socialstudies.com article that specifically discussed capitalism, socialism, and communism, distinguishing important economic concepts. All right. So here we go. Capitalism, socialism, and communism are three key concepts in social studies with complex definitions and complicated histories. Explaining these concepts in a classroom is muddled even more by how these words are used in modern media. The meaning is often obscured by political alliances and deliberate attempts to mislead. The words capitalism, socialism, and communism describe different economic systems. And a simple and effective way to present these key concepts in a classroom is through the economic continuum illustrated by the chart below. Students are more likely to grasp the key differences if these concepts are first presented separate from political systems such as autocracy, theocracy, and democracy. So this right here, I think this is more like a children's, a more like an elementary setting, elementary school setting for how to explain these different systems to them. And I feel like we do need an elementary style type of way to discuss these topics because, I think because of the complexities of how things are projected in modern media, a lot of people don't understand things in their simple form. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Communism and capitalism are also easier to understand and remember when the histories of the words are explored. So economic terms define, capitalism and socialism first came into use in the 1830s. Capitalism described an economic system in which wealth, or capital, another word for wealth, was owned by individuals for their personal profit. The British policy of government regulation of trade, called mercantilism, was being abandoned by the 1830s, and the free market, not the government, determined the production and distribution of goods. The word capitalism was a product of the changing economy of Great Britain during the Industrial Revolution. All right. So again, this describes an economic system in which wealth or capital was owned by individuals for their personal profit. Right? That's capitalism. The word socialism also began to be used in the 1830s to describe a system different from capitalism. Socialism held that groups of people should own and regulate the economy for the benefit of all members, not just a few. Early 19th century socialists were often disturbed by the economic and social changes caused by the Industrial Revolution. In the first half of the 19th century, socialist ideals inspired utopian communities such as transcendentalists. Oh my gosh, I can't even say this right. Transcendentalists, Brooks Farm, Robert Owen's New Harmony, and Wanada's communities. An even older ideal of Christian socialism described in the Bible inspired religious socialist communities such as Shakers, Rapatites, Amanist colonies, and Hutterites. Even the term social studies allude to how a community or wider society benefits from shared knowledge. Okay, so again, the idea of socialism is the idea that groups of people should own and regulate the economy for the benefit of all members, not just simply a few people, okay, or even just simply individuals. So now, into the communism. Communism was first a French word coined in the 1840s to describe a system of collective ownership in which individuals did not own private property and worked together for the benefit of all community members. This new French word described ideals similar to the English concept of socialism and derived from the word common, which means free or open to everyone. The word communism was adopted by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in the 1850s to describe their ideologies of opposing industrial capitalism. Marxist communism sought the overflow of governments supporting a capitalist economy. By 1918, communism was the ideology of Russia's Bolshevik Revolution and was associated with a single authoritarian political party. The combined economic and political ideologies of modern communism was implemented in the Soviet Union, the People's Republic of China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and Cuba. Now, you realize that when it comes to the United States, one of the main opposing forces within the idea of capitalism has always been from these countries like Russia, China, North Korea, Cuba, and North Vietnam. So that's a common thing. This is part of the reason why this is often seen from a political point of view because of their different economic ideologies. All right, particularly when it comes to like communism, especially communism. Socialism is seen as an off branch of communism, but at least with socialism, there is that allows people to regulate things, but it's kind of more of an extreme point of view. And both of them are done to oppose capitalism, although communism is a much more intense one. All right, so let's go to modern day implications. Today, historical words, capitalism, socialism, and communism do not fully capture the economic systems of nations. New words are also used to describe economic systems: free market system, mixed economy, command economy. But these modern words can still lead to confusion because in reality, modern nations are not purely free market capitalists or purely command communists. In recent years, communist China and Cuba have loosened economic restrictions and allowed free market activities. On the other hand, the United States regulates many aspects of its economy and owns and manages very socialist enterprises such as public schools, public transportation, and public libraries. In other words, communism, socialism, and capitalism are a continuum, with modern national economics falling somewhere in the middle or mixed zones. In American politics, those who are aligned to the right of the political spectrum are more likely to support free market policies, and those to the left are more likely to support government intervention in economies. Recent poll by Pew Research Center demonstrates how the political alliances of Americans influence perceptions of these words. I see Journey with Corinne. Hey, Journey with Corinne. Let me see if it's you on the screen. Hey there, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're learning so far. I'm trying to do my best with putting up the information as easily as I can. I know this is going to be quite a lengthy reading, but we're going to have to really take our time to read through this information because this helps a lot with our understanding and our literacy when we start getting into these economic policies, all right? So let's move onward. It says, ultimately, nations and citizens of nations must decide how much government regulation of the economy is appropriate. Therefore, a clear understanding of the historical developments, meanings, political associations, and synonyms of these three words is essential in social studies. And so here you have this little chart right here that gives an understanding of these economic systems, kind of summarize it in a way. And then you have the mixed forms of it right here. So you have the communism that says governments should own and regulate all aspects of the economy. You have socialism that says government owns and regulates some parts of the economy for the benefit of the whole nation. And individual and private businesses also own or make their own economic decisions, keeping the profits and accepting the losses. And then you have capitalism, which is individuals and private businesses own everything and make economic decisions free from government regulations, keeping the profits and accepting losses without intervention. And then you get, just from that description alone, you can see the pros and cons with that. And then you have the command economy, which is usually within the political left side. You have the free market enterprise and free enterprise. I'm sorry, free market economy or free enterprise, which is usually associated with the political right. So anytime that you're seeing all these different issues with the politics and stuff in regards to like finances and particularly the economy, it falls in line with whether or not one is being too ideally socialist or too ideally communist or too ideally capitalist when it comes to economic endeavors. And they've managed to merge within our politics, but they are not political ideologies. Those political ideologies would include democracy, autocracy, monarchy, oligarchy, anarchy, all those different things. All right. So with that in mind, we're going to set the stage for how we are going to view these economic policies. So we have a clear understanding as to what it would be more capitalist, what would be more communist, what would be more of the mixed market, so that way you'll be able to see for yourself with this understanding how you fall in line with your values within these economic plans. Let's see. There we go. So now I'm here in Investopia. Give me one moment. So we're gonna stop the screen here. I hate that. I hate that these new internet browsers do that, where they kind of make their own tab, and you kind of have to you have to switch out a lot. It's really annoying. So give me just a moment. All right, here we are. Should be seeing something now. Okay. Give me just a moment, you guys. My computer is working just a little bit slow, but I still hope that you're able to hear me. Let's see. Showing anything? Nothing freezing? Okay. There we go. Wow. Okay. There we go. We're going to. Donald Trump laid out his economic plan. This is back on September 6, 2024. And we're going to go dive deeper into what the key takeaways for this plans are. So key takeaways here. The Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump laid out his economic plans in a speech Thursday, which I would guess that was, I guess it was the 5th or the 4th or the 5th at that time, for these at the Economic Club of New York. He's focusing on cutting spending and increasing tariffs, along with lowering taxes. Other plans include opening for federal land for housing development and ending taxes on tips and Social Security payments. Trump's proposal also includes of making U.S. the cryptocurrency world. All right. So those are very key points to keep in mind for this conversation. Again, I think this is focusing a lot on the capitalist. This is focusing a lot on the capitalistic aspect of economic policies. So Trump has laid out some of his economic proposals on the campaign trail this week, focusing on increasing tariffs and cutting spending. Speaking Thursday at the Economic Club of New York, the Republican presidential candidate outlined proposals focusing on reducing regulations, increasing energy production, boosting tariffs, and cutting taxes, which he said would bring down inflation and create jobs. So we're going to get into the idea of tariffs, and we'll talk more about how the tariffs are considered to be problematic by economists. All right. So Trump's on tariffs. Tariffs on goods made in other countries were a major element of Trump's economic campaign, though he said he would later announce more specifics about the amount of tariffs he would pursue. Trump said the domestic automobile industry, along with the American steel, aluminum, and defense industries, would benefit from tariffs. A combination of fair trade, tax cuts, regulatory cuts, and energy abundance would allow us to produce more goods, better and cheaper, right here in the USA, Trump said. In the past, Trump has proposed imposing tariffs on 60% or more of Chinese imports, as well as across-the-board tariffs between 10 to 20%. Economists have said merchants would likely pass on any increased tariffs to customers under that proposal. So let's have I'm going to click here on tariffs, so that way we have understanding on what exactly is a tariff and why it's so important when discussing economic policies, particularly when we're talking about Trump's policy. A tariff, so this is a tariff right here. So most countries are limited by their natural resources and unhappy. One way the government deals with one country on the goods and services imported from another country to influence it, raise revenue, and protect competitive advantages. So we're not going to go too much further into that, but this kind of gives an idea of what tariffs are really about. Tariffs are there to impose, governments impose tariffs to raise revenue, protect. Tariffs are results. Oh, tariffs have a long still rate produce the being innovative in Chinese goods here. So that's why he wants the tariffs. Boost energy production. Another centerpiece of the proposal was to create a government efficient commission to look for ways to reduce wasteful spending. Trump said he got the idea from Tesla's CEO Elon Musk and would help him. Let's get a quick pause here. What up, Chris? Good seeing you, man. I hope that you're enjoying yourself. See if we can show. There we go. Get the comment to show. I hate when this thing uses. In any case, I hope that you're doing well, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. A lot of freezing going on here. There we go. Good to see you. Now let's go move forward. So asking them to head the commission, okay. Policy to reduce regulations, including eliminating 10 regulations for every new regulation introduced. Trump also pledged to make America the world capital for Bitcoin, although offered no specific detail on policy changes to enact that plan. Trump also decided his plan to increase oil production, saying that he would use emergency powers to push through new oil drilling or refinery construction and new power plants and other projects to increase output. Another of dollars, Reduction Act, which included funding for clean energy products. That's the thing that Kamala Harris has been focusing on a great deal for her campaign, as well as Biden. To encourage housing production, the government would open up large tracts of federal land for housing development. Trump said that he would keep in place tax cuts set to expire for 2025. That's been a major discussion point there. He also reiterated his plan to eliminate taxes on tips and Social Security payments. And I know Kamala has said that she wants to cut taxes on tips as well. So let's move on. Is there any other? I think that's it for now in regards to Trump's plans. So again, the key thing is having tariffs on Chinese goods, 6%, 60%, and 10% on other products that are not. And then he wants to put energy, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, being able to push oil drilling, refinery construction, power plants, and other stuff for, again, production for the United States. That's his whole. That's been his whole push on Make America Great Again. In mind, we are going to get into economic plan. So we'll go here to Investopia. By the way, if you like the content, make sure you hit the like button. These are all about. You need to make sure that you share it with someone who could really to be able to 19th of this year. We're gonna move this with a pretty slow computer, and we're gonna talk about Kamala. So here's some key takeaways here. Vice President Kamala would be the 16th, I believe, of policies proposed by Joe Biden, Trump. Although the two campaigns have some key policies in common. Let's go on. Kamala had her presidential campaign Friday, which Biden focused on reducing key costs of living and household budgets, while you have Trump, Kamala Harris is more for who are within middle income families. In a speech delivered Friday, the presumptive administration policies and pushed $1,000 in down payment assistance. Harris called whether their parents get to a maximum of from $2,000. Harris called for the same, but boosted to $6,000 for newborns. Biden sought to promote affordable housing with the $2 billion fund for local construction, and Harris called for $40 billion. So she's asking for more money to do the things that Joe Biden has already done. Okay. For too many people, no matter how much they work, it feels so hard just to be able to get ahead, she said. As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. In her speech and a fact sheet, Harris laid out parts of her economic agenda for the first time, shedding light on where she would continue Biden era policies and where she would depart from them. So here Trump find common ground. Harris' proposals contrast with those of her Republican opponent, former Vice President Trump. The day before, Trump laid out an economic agenda of his own that was shorter on specifics, repeating several ideas he has proposed in the past, including deporting immigrants, raising tariffs on imported goods, and using the proceeds to pay off the national debt. The two campaigns also have some policies in common. Earlier in the week, Republican Vice President nominee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, said that the Trump campaign would boost the child tax credit to $5,000 per month. And both campaigns have proposed ending income taxes on tips. Should it win the 2024 election and become president, her ideas are still not guaranteed to be implemented, since many would require the support of Congress. Lawmakers are currently divided with Republicans controlling the House of Representatives and Democrats controlling the Senate. Harris on housing. Say that 10 times fast. Harris proposed a slate of policies aimed at curbing the high cost of housing, which many economists have traced to a long-standing shortage. The affordability situation for both renters and first-time buyers took a turn for the worse starting in 2020, when home prices and rents rose sharply. Harris plans called for the construction of 3 million new houses to close the gap between how many homes exist in the country and how many are needed, with the aim of evening out supply and demand and putting downward pressure on prices. This would be accomplished by offering tax incentives to builders to construct starter homes, by funding local construction, and by cutting bureaucracy red tape that slows down construction projects. She would also help buyers out directly, though the first-time buyer or through the first-time buyer credit. That's the odd place to put the comma. Okay. All right. So Harris's promises corporate crackdowns for renters. Harris said she would crack down on companies that own many apartments, who she said have colluded to raise rent using pricing algorithms. She would also call for a law blocking large investors from buying houses to rent out, a practice she said was driving up prices by competing with individual private buyers. Harris focused on corporate crackdowns extended to the food business, where she called for a federal ban on price gouging on foods and groceries without going into specifics about what behavior the ban would target. Harris also said she would have the Federal Trade Commission focus on food companies from merging, a trend she said has reduced competition and driven up prices. Lastly, Harris promised lower costs for prescription drugs and touted the Biden administration's success in reducing costs for drugs paid for through Medicare by allowing the government to negotiate with manufacturers. Harris said she would also take those efforts further and would also expand a $35 per month cap on insulin prices and a $2,000 yearly cap on out-of-pocket drug costs to everyone instead of just seniors. So again, the focus on everyone. Again, this kind of goes with the democratic idea of what people would call socialism and stuff like that. Let's see. How would Harris fund this plan? Harris' campaign told ABC on Monday she would fund some of this plan through an avenue similar to a proposal by her predecessor. Harris proposed raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, echoing a strategy suggested by Biden. That is 7 percentage points more than the current rate, which was proposed by the Trump administration. That's the increase with the taxes. The Congressional Budget Office, uh, a nonpartisan federal agency that does research for the legislature, said in 2018 that raising the corporate rate tax just 1% would increase revenues by $96 billion over 10 years. All right. So let me go into this a strategy suggested by Joe Biden, because I want to try to give him a fuller context as to what that is. Okay. Um, what economic in the campaign at the time. On Thursday, according with the 20 topic for Biden, which would plan to extend the 2017 tax cuts. He's also expected to propose higher taxes on corporations and high earners. Also discuss child care and overseas conflict. Republican Senate Kate Britt will present the opposing party's response hours after. Okay, so that's not really important. Let's see. So I don't want to get too much into this. I think the overview Investopia, Investopia, since it's back in March, I don't want to go too much into that. The focus now is between Trump and Harris. Even if she's a predecessor of Biden, she is still on her race. So with that said, there's going to be one more place that we go to, and that's going to be what economists have stated about both Trump and Kamala's plans. All right. So we'll go here. All right. So now what economists love and hate about the Harris and Trump economic plans. This was back in August. Economists have found some of the ideas polarizing. Removing taxes on tips, enacting high tariffs, and putting price controls in place have been criticized by economists. One proposal both parties agree on, expanding the child tax credit, is well received by economists. That is the one thing that both major presidential candidates have received applause from crowds of supporters when discussing their economic policies. But if the audience were composed of economists, they might have gotten a frostier reception. Vice President Kamala, the Democratic nominee, and her Republican opponent, former President Donald Trump, have made campaign promises that have drawn criticism from economists all across the ideological spectrum. They have also made a few that have gotten more positive reviews. Let's see. Oh, here are some of the more polarizing ideas they've put forward. Proposals, because this was the main thing that was criticized a great deal with Donald Trump. Perhaps the most widely criticized idea of the electoral campaign so far is Trump's proposal to raise tariffs on imports. He has proposed imposing tariffs on 60% or more on Chinese imports and across the board tariffs of 10%. Some of them are 20%. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. A survey of professional economists by the National Association of Business Economics in August showed that those policies were deeply unpopular with experts. When asked to pick 3 of the 8 potential changes to U.S. trade policy, only 2% backed 60% tariffs on China, and 3% backed the broad 10% tariff. Experts say merchants would likely pass on any increase in tariffs to customers. An analysis by economists at the Peterson Institute for International Think Tank found enacting Trump's plan would cost a typical middle-income family $1,700 a year in higher prices. An analysis by economists in Goldman Sachs found if Trump enacted a softer version of this policy, meaning maintaining across-the-board tariffs and raising tariffs on China at 20% points, prices in the United States would rise 1%, and economic growth would slow down. In response to higher prices, the Federal Reserve would keep interest rates higher, meaning U.S. individuals and businesses pay higher interest rates on mortgages, car loans, and other forms of credit. Even Trump's ideological allies have criticized the idea of higher tariffs. Economist Desmond Lachman, a senior fellow of at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute think tank, warned raising tariffs would reignite the kind of trade war that contributed to the Great Depression. That is bound to invite retaliation from our trade partners that could lead us down the economically destructive road to the beggar thy neighbor policies of the 1930s, he wrote in a blog post this week. Economist Carl Schramm, a professor in Syracuse, who otherwise praised Trump's economic agenda, said that the tax proposal was a weak point. So pretty much across the board, economists say, look, we are not for these tariffs. They're too high. Even just to cut them down at even 20% at a much lower rate would be detrimental to the economy. Right? So there's that. Now we're going to get into Harris. So economists warn Harris against price controls, citing Nixon era failure. Last week, as part of a series of policies aimed at lowering everyday costs for households, Harris proposed a federal ban on price gouging by food companies, though did not provide details about what exactly that policy would consist of. And last month, the Biden-Harris administration proposed a law that would take federal tax breaks away from landlords if they raise prices more than 5% a year. Harris has not said whether she would pursue this policy as president. To some economists, the ideas echo the price control instituted by Richard Nixon in the early 1970s, which backfired spectacularly. It's also possible that Harris's anti-price gouging policy will be far less extensive than that. The New York Times, citing people familiar with Harris's thinking, said the ban would be modeled after numerous existing state laws that limit how much businesses can raise prices during disasters or emergencies. Schramm, a critic of Harris's overall approach, said that price control were her worst idea. The real issue with price control is who you drive out in the market, he said. If you drive price controls on housing, no investor is going to build house to rent. Trump was more bullish on one of Harris's other proposals to cut housing costs, encouraging home builders to reduce regulatory red tape. So here's where they meet with the child tax credit, and they were viewed positively. So here we go. Both campaigns have proposed expanding the child tax credit. Harris would raise it up to $3,600 per child and $6,000 for newborn. And the Trump campaign favors a credit of $5,000 per child from the current level of $2,000 per year. When President Joe Biden temporarily expanded the credit in 2021, research is credited with cutting child poverty significantly. Some economists said bringing the expanded credit back would help children and the economy overall. In addition to reducing hunger and homelessness and boosting school performance, it will have long-term benefits. Mary Hatchelbach Hansen, a professor in economics at the American University, said in a blog earlier this month. Healthier, better educated children are more likely to work when they are adults, she wrote. They are more, they'll be more productive, so they're likely to earn more when they're adults. From the point of view of an economist, more productive workers help sustain strong economic growth. They grow the economy. On the downside, researchers of nonpartisan tax foundation think tank instituting the credits elsewhere or raising taxes to pay for them could stoke inflation and deepen the national debt. Okay, so any taxes on tips could have unwanted consequences. This would be interesting. So let's look into this. Both Trump and Harris have proposed ending taxes on tips while giving a tax break to wait staff and other low-paid workers who rely on gratuity may be intended to help the working class. Some economists say it would have some unwanted consequences. Ending taxes on tips is a poorly targeted proposal. Alex Murisanu, a senior fellow researcher, a senior fellow, research fellow at the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, wrote in an analysis last month. For one thing, it would reach only 2.5% of the workforce and 5% of the quarter of workers who are the lowest paid, according to researchers at the Yale Budget Lab. Secondly, if you're baffled by who you should tip or who you shouldn't amid the rise of tipping culture, just wait until your lawyer or accountant expects one. Ending taxes on tips would only encourage more professions to move compensation away from wages and towards tips. Mauriciano wrote. However, economists are rarely unanimous, and the tips issue is no exception. Scrum saying ending tips taxation was a good idea, even if only for its symbolism. All right. Next thing is kicking workers out of the country could harm economy. Trump has repeatedly promised to round up and deport illegal immigrants. Regardless of any humanitarian considerations, economists are skeptical that expelling immigrants would help the economy. In a question on the NABE survey asking economists to select any number of 7 different immigration policies they supported, only 29% said it was a good idea to increase deportations. John Horn, an economist at Washington University, is among those who say such a roundup would damage the economy. If you take the millions of workers out of the economy, many industries, including food production and manufacturing assembly services, would suffer, he said in a blog post earlier this month. If you don't have labor, prices go up and the economy slows down. I'm not saying we should just let anyone in. We need to address immigration. But if you don't have labor, prices go up and the economy slows down. That's basic economics. All right. So that is it for everything that we are going to discuss as far as articles with this particular topic. The whole purpose of this is to be enlightened about these financial plans because each of them affect your future. In fact, I'm not going to get into that too much. I just saw another article that specifically talked about what Harris and Trump was doing specifically with more detail, but I think that in itself is detailed enough. So I want you all to really be mindful of, especially with who you're voting for, mindful of the economic policies and plans that are in place. Again, going back to the idea of capitalism and socialism, each of them are showing their own different points of view of who they're focusing on. As far as being able to be in production, for Donald Trump, he wants to have things be produced in the United States, which explains the tariffs. whether or not they may be beneficial for the economy overall, his focal point is about making American-based products and making sure that the United States is the cryptocurrency of the world and Bitcoin currency of the world. So again, it's focusing a lot on capital. With Kamala Harris, is making sure that everything is affordable, even though she's not specifically stating how she's going to make those things affordable. That is her ideal goal for middle class earners and the working class as well. Both of them agree with extended tax credit, although Harris plans to go further with that. So with that stated, I hope that you all were able to get something out of that. So that's pretty much it from here. Let's see. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to discuss. What's up, Kia? I hope you're doing well. I hope that you were able to take the time to really think about, these particular policies because, keep in mind, guys, one of the things that is a very important policy or an important thing that people are focusing on is the economy, especially when it comes to men. It is a higher concern for men than it is for women. And so these economic policies and how they plan to come about is one of those make or break points about who is going to be people who are going to vote for in office. Now, for me personally, I'm going to have a conversation later on that is going to discuss how I think things are going to turn out for this election. I have some things I have some updates to share, believe it or not, about this fast. As you all know, that I've been taking my time to partake in a fast that lasts for the entire month. And so I want to get some updates about that very soon. You'll catch that in the next video. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that later tonight because tomorrow I'm going to be very busy. But I also want to give some ideas about what I think is going to be happening and who I think has already been selected to be the ideal candidate. So that's part of the reason why discussing these economic policies, these economic plans, I should say, is very, very important. So that way that you are aware and alert of how to navigate things from this point forward as things transition to who either one is going to be president, but especially for who I think is going to be president as well. And also being mindful, again, like I said before earlier, being clear about your ideas about economics, the clear distinction between economy versus politics, and seeing how economy may influence politics or politics can influence the economics of things, but they're not necessarily the same thing. So you can have, for example, you could have a democratic socialism, you can have a democratic capitalism, you could have an autocracy that's built on capitalism. You could probably even have it if it's on socialism. So how government functions as a political ideology is not necessarily the same as how they may function as the economy. Just want to keep that in mind. Okay, so that is it for you all. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I will catch you guys next time with another video. On Monday, we're going to be talking about something very important, which is going to be about the CBP1 app, as well as the CHNV humanitarian parole. We're going to be talking about that on Monday, all right? And then Wednesday, that'll be slated for talking about Agenda 2030 and what to look for in regarding that, okay? All right, so let's see this. Okay, Kia, you're excited. All right, that's good. I see the blue hearts. The blue heart gang in here. Although not for this channel, not for this channel. I don't do blue hearts here, but if you know where the blue hearts come from, you know where I'm referring to that. But we're going to talk about Monday, the immigration thing, and how things are being set up to ensure that these migrants are legal immigrants. And one of the ways that's being done is through the CBP1 app, as well as the humanitarian parole for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. So you don't want to miss out on that. We're going to be discussing that on Monday, okay? And then I'm going to have a video before then. I'm going to do it later tonight, where I'm going to give like a fall update. I'm going to give you a fasting update. So I only have 2 days left this particular fast now. And just kind of share my thoughts and what I think is going to be coming up ahead, especially as we start approaching October. October is looking like it's going to start off with a bang, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that, right? And then Wednesday, of course, we're going to talk about Agenda 2030 and how there are some things in place where there could be controversial, including gender equality. Now, if you all know about what's going on with the whole thing with gender, we're going to be discussing that and how that could play a devastating role when we're talking about Agenda 2030. All right. So with that said, I will see you all next time. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed this content. I know, again, one of the things I'm going to do on my channel is I'm going to be encouraging a lot of reading, which is helpful to both myself and to other people who need to actually see it for themselves. We're going to have to be literate when it comes to a lot of stuff regarding policies and economics. I know that video is a lot more popular, and so people like sharing their content through videos, and there may be times we will share those types of things there. But I also want to be a encourager for us to read these things, so that way that we have a comprehension, a comprehensive understanding of what these things are doing for us, for the future, so that way that we are prepared. All right, that's the kind of like the boring stuff, but it's the boring stuff that will be helpful for you. It's kind of like eating healthy foods, right? It's often the stuff that's not good tasting that tends to be good for you, or like medicine, right? So it's going to be the same thing when it comes to the stuff that we do as far as these articles. We're going to read these articles, we're going to take our time to learn from them and glean from them, and maybe even have conversations about them, like an open dialogue about them. I would love for there, like, especially if we have this particular video coming up, live stream that I'm going to do with my updates. I would definitely have an open discussion, particularly, like, regarding the stuff that we've been sharing throughout this particular week. Maybe that's probably the goal. Maybe that's something to think about. If you want to really do like a weekend summation, open dialogue based on the content that we have been discussing. If you want to see something like that, if you want to be a part of something like that, make sure to like voice your opinions. I may even do like a poll, and you'll be able to voice your opinions that way. But other than that, guys, this is it for the conversation. If you're new here, make sure you hit the like and click subscribe button and the notification bell, so that you are alerted every single time there is a video in progress. All right. And we're going to have scheduled videos, so that way that you guys will be able to plan ahead to be a part of the conversation each time we're having these discussions. All right. I want to make sure that I have them ahead of time, so that way people can get the notification and be alerted every time there is something new that's going on. All right. So that's it for the stream, everyone. I'll catch you guys next time. And stay awesome. Catch you in the next video that's going to be coming up later tonight. All right. Bye-bye.